Hello, my U Turn family. Welcome to the U Turn show. If you are new, this is a platform for empowering our communities through impactful conversations, real life stories, and resources for youth and women. Every Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, we gather here to spotlight voices that challenge limits and those that reminds us that real change begins the moment we choose to turn in a new direction, to make a U-turn. So, if you are navigating change in your life, looking for clarity, or building the next big thing, you belong here. So, share this conversation and stick with us as we begin the real talk, real growth, real U turn.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We are super excited to have Isaac Deng from Alaran Society and our very own Aqualfield from the U Turn and myself. We are here to share a new and exciting initiative with you, which we've been working on. So, without more talking, I would like to invite Isaac Deng to introduce himself and tell us more about Alaran Society. Many of you may not know, but they're doing an amazing work in the community here in diaspora, and we are very excited to collaborate on this amazing initiative. Isaac, take it away.
Okay, thank you very much, Alakir, and thank you, Okwal, as well for the wonderful introduction. So, my name is Isaac Deng, and originally I'm based in South Australia, in Australia, but currently I'm in the US. So I'm in Gainesville, Florida at the moment. And just give you some background. So I have a training in neurobiology. So that's my area of interest. I'm a neurobiologist by research. That's what I kind of do. Um, and to give you a bit more background on the Alaran Society, so it is kind of is a small organization that is in the limbo at the moment. We're starting off, and we have a lot of things that we would like to do, but it stems from a conversation with some of my friends that back in South Australia. So we would usually sit down and we have a lot of philosophical discussions, psychological discussions, and sometimes we share some papers as well as a form of like a journal club. So because they also have some science background as well. But then together we thought like, okay, this is a small group of people and we have certain niche in terms of what we know. Why don't we try to convert this into a bigger group? So some of our people that could benefit from what we're trying to do, and we could also extend the conversation such that it will be able to affect different people, no matter who they are, but more specifically with a focus on South Sudanese. So we promote more like books that are centered around philosophy, history, maybe science sometime. We have a lot more interest in also anthropology as well. And we also support projects that help young people with coding. And we have an initiative at the moment that if you are interested, you can reach out to us and we'll be able to help you because we want to help, especially young people of South Sudanese heritage that are in high school. And we want to be able to promote coding so that they can learn. Because as you can see with the explosion in AI, it's probably important to start equipping yourself with different tools that foster technology. So that's one part that we focus on. And we also focus a lot on mentoring as well, like different students and also helping them with their work as well. But Aqual already has included our Facebook page in the link there, so you can view it or you can contact me myself and I'll be able to give you more information in terms of what Alaran Society does. But to extend to the collaboration with the U Turn, so I reached out to the U Turn based on the work that they've been doing on Facebook. Prior to me knowing them, I saw a lot of their videos and some of the entrepreneurship and also gender related content, and also just sort of informing, insightful conversation for the community that they were pushing. And I personally reached out to them as I saw that their goals kind of aligned with what we want to push out there. And I also proposed an initiative that I would like to work with them, and that's what we're going to focus on today, and we'll be able to tell you more. So so that I don't talk a lot, I'll leave some of the info, and you feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be able to fill you in. And yeah, in a nutshell, that's me.
Thank you so much, Isaac. It's been a real pleasure and honor to work with you behind the scenes. You guys will see how brilliant he is, and throughout this project, you will be able to see more of Isaac and more of what he has to bring to this project. So, Rhoda, can you tell us the name of the initiative, and what does it mean for the U Turn to be involved at this time?
Wow, the name, that's the big thing. The name is the Bridge Dialogue series. The Bridge Dialogue, the keyword there is the bridge. So, what it means to the youth, and I remember and we talk a lot about this, that we need a U turn for our community. We need a U turn for young people. We need U turn for women. We need U turn for our country, South Sudan. I know all of us here in diaspora, we like our country, but we have like physically, but in our hearts and mind, we are still connected there. And you know, we thought that when we come up with this platform called U-Turn, we had this vision that at some point we will have a 64 project, the U-Turn 64 project, to really unite our hearts, our minds, and our resources to really, bring out the best of our country, either abroad and back home. And so while we've been doing a lot of things, I think this is actually the U-turn moment when Isaac reached out to us and said, actually, we need to do something 64 in one. I was like, wow, someone else is also thinking about this. And so what this bridge dialogue series really bring is, for me, from my own perspective, it is an opportunity for us to really have like conversations, like critical conversation, thoughtful conversation about ourselves as South Sudanese in diaspora and back home, to really talk about challenges, social, cultural challenges that face us collectively, to address them intellectually, and to create opportunities for us to work together. That is what I see. And that's the U-turn I see for myself. But really want to bring it back because Isaac actually sat down and thought it out and wrote a concept that I want him to actually explain it himself, like what inspired him, and what to expect from from now going forward. But for me, I'm really excited about the Bridge Dialogue series. Isaac, can you dive into it? Sorry to push it back.
Okay.
No problem.
Yeah, thank you for pushing me into the spot. So I'll try to summarize very quickly. So I think most of us in the diaspora, we might be comfortable sometime here and also just minding our own business and just trying to work. But sometimes it's helpful just to give back home, because there's also a lot of stuff going on there, and we have certain skills that can be really useful should we put them into use. So often, because I like to read a lot of psychology, sometimes I read a fair bit on history, and based on my understanding, for example, like South Sudan as a country now, we've kind of never had time where we settle, like everything is almost in a limbo. And to kind of give you perspective, like let's just say like in the late like 1800s, for example, that time we were still together with Sudan, and by that time, for example, Sudan as a whole was still controlled by a combination of Anglo Egyptian rule. And then by that time, moving back to like around the 1956 when we got our independence, and then shortly after that, we had the first like Sudan civil war. That was like the very first one. And then the peace was signed around 1972. And then shortly after that, we then had the second civil war, which is what most of us, which is the one that we know that ended in 2005. So there's always been a problem. And throughout those hardships, it has always been a combination of effort from the different constitutions of South Sudan. And we've always, even though things were not looking good, we've always worked in the spirit of brotherhood together. But then, like let's say in 205, then the Comprehensive Peace Agreement was signed, and then we had a new country in 2011. But then the problem still consists, but we now had our own nation, which we were fighting for. But we now have so many problems, even worse than before, and we don't do anything in the spirit of brotherhood before. But then what I notice is like, as different, because for example, I'm from the Dinka tribe, and we don't know a lot in general about people that live next to us. We may know a few other large tribes like the Nuer, the Mandaris, for example, the Shuluks, but we don't know anything about them. Like maybe most of the us in abroad, we might know very, very little. But in order for us to exist peacefully, we need to know our neighbors, and we need to be able to work together. And multiculturalism is only good when everything is harmonious, but when everyone works separately, it's very chaotic. So to dive back to the dialogue is a way for us together to know our other brothers and sisters that exist in our vicinity, be able to learn some of the things that they believe in, be able to also support them in some of the social issue that they have. And should we now align our goals together, it's much easier to work rather than saying, oh, so and so is from this tribe. Because it's, if everyone acts differently, there's 64 tribes, for example, you cannot come up with anything like valuable when all 64 of the constitutions are doing their own separate things. So the goal of the conversation for us is to force harmony between us, understand other people, not just have a conversation that is quite homogeneous. For example, like the three of us here, we're from the same community. We know most of our beliefs. But then what about the others that are not involved? It would be nice for them to also know us. So then when, let's say, if an idea comes from me, they will be able to say, oh, I know Isaac. This is what he believes in. It's not just the Dinka, but he has an interest for all of us. So it's easier to work. So, and I think that forms the basis of our dialogues. So hopefully we will have a lot of people from different tribes. We will mostly communicate in English because we don't have another language that will harmonize everything, but we will try to communicate in such a way that we will still make progress. So I hope that kind of summarizes it, and we'll talk more about it as the series progress. Thank you.
So like in the spirit of dialogue, you can see the excitement and what is ahead. So for folks that are watching, so that is the goal of this conversation. The youth, and many people have been asking us, when we started it, we started speaking in Dinka, and we have had like guests coming from all across the country, different tribes of the country. We also had like other non-South Sudanese who have been part of this conversation. But the intentionality of actually bringing like South Sudanese across the 64 line hasn't been there. So this project is really for the 64 tribe of South Sudan to have a U-turn conversation, to understand themselves, to share ideas, to share their cultural pride and identity, to engage in conversation that is moving us forward, that is bringing U-turn to the current, situation that we are in. And I'm really very excited and looking forward to it, Alakir. So to answer your question, that is the U-turn that is happening. It's now the platform being for the South Sudanese by South Sudanese for South Sudanese.
And also for that, because there's also like a lot of other people that are not, that we've met through the way, that may be our friends, but they're not South Sudanese. We also welcome people that are also able to help us with some of the knowledge that they understand. And I'm sure there are other non-Sudanese that they could be anthropologists, but they know a lot about South Sudan more than we know. So we welcome everyone that is going to be able to enlighten us as well and be able to support us in what we're doing. So it's not just, mostly we want our voices, but we also want our brothers and sisters around the world that also want to join us in this adventure, and for them to also know us as well, so we can collectively work together.
Absolutely. So the call is out. If you are watching today and you've really understood what we're trying to do here, please make sure you share the video, and please make sure you engage with this conversation. If you know someone that would be great for this initiative, mention them in the comments. We'll mention Alaran Society so you can learn more about their work, and then we'll be spotlighting this initiative once a month. So look forward to it every month. The second last Saturday of the month will be dedicated to this conversation. So Isaac already touched on what kind of what the main idea is for this initiative, but I want you to dig deeper, Isaac. We know conflict. When you mention South Sudan to anyone who don't know much about South Sudan, what comes to their mind is conflict, and what it has done to us is really create this divide and tribalistic tension between people who may or may not get along. And what we're trying to do is make sure we use resilience, and we're able to hold space where we can have these conversations regardless of what rhetoric is out there. So can you take us back, or share your hope of what we can do with this project in terms of maybe we'll not fully resolve conflict, but what are you hoping to get out of this conversation?
Okay, thank you very much. That's a good question. So in terms of like our history as a country, I know a little bit, but it's not my area of expertise. So I'm not gonna claim to 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 the people and say I know all this. So I will leave that out. And I'm hoping that there are a lot of South Sudanese historians out there that will have the courage to reach out to us, so we could also incorporate their knowledge, and we can help, and we can allow them to help us understand a bit more. But in terms of what I hope to gain out of it, is that currently we have a very large youth population, and I'm sure they have a lot to offer. They just don't know it in terms of it's either their energy or their commitment, or even just coming up with goals that with time you can pursue them slowly, slowly. But the idea is to, let's say, okay, we have we have so many youth that are quite vulnerable, uh, and for people that are growing in their mind, it's very easy for them to support ideas that are not fruitful for them, and without any information, it's very hard for them to know something else that exists. So for example, if all they've known is war, or if all they have known is their tribe is the best, or we are fighting to defend so and so, and they don't have another idea that will help them to adjust and formulate the world in such a manner that is going to help them, they have they are not able to do anything productive. So the goal of our conversation, and what I hope to get, is to create conversation that's going to allow other youth members to learn. Is either encourage them to learn their own skill. For example, I'm a neurobiologist by training, and I'm sure you guys have a specific niche in your term of your area of expertise. I know you're well educated in terms of your background. I'm not gonna butcher it, so I will leave out your credentials. But every one of us, including others that are not here, we all have something to offer, and it starts with a conversation. So, for example, one person could be okay. One youth member that may not be as informed, they could be like, how do I position myself in a way that down the line I may do something that's helpful? And we might be able to we might be able to advise them. Like, let's say, if there are short courses available, you can have you can focus on a specific course, like let's say even plumbing or electrician, and you can create a small business for yourself. You don't have to fight all the time if that's not gonna if that's not actually fruitful for you, and it is not, because most of the time you don't get anything from it. But these dialogues you can kind of learn when you converse with people that have different area of expertise. So, and also to have a family that's also going to be supportive of you in terms of your ideas as well. So that's what I hope to gain from it. And also to have, like, let's say, perspective from unique tribes. So rather than just my voice as a Dinka man, we have different voices, and those voices, we are able to work together. Because one problem is we can't work together and we cannot organize anything that is fruitful. But we can if we know each other enough to know, okay, so and so, this is how they work, and this is how we should design our system, so we work together in a very respectful manner and in a way that's productive. So those are such of the ideas that we want to share together with other youth members that may want to have that conversation. And with time, we will be able to be informed enough, ambitious enough to actually create something that's useful rather than being in a constant limbo. So, in a nutshell, that's kind of what I wanted to say.
Well put. Like, I don't think I can add anything to that. The two things I'm getting out of it is the youth, development. Is it personal, career, anything? We're able to offer that expertise as Isaac has his area of expertise, and I feel like these are the things that unite us. Like, what have we studied? Things we can agree on. So I feel like those things can be very useful in this conversation. The other thing is the sense of identity. The stories that we've been told and we're not exposed to other stories are what bring us together. So when I say there's tension between tribe, it's mostly the upbringing. You grow up with your parents, they tell you, oh, this tribe is the evil. But how do you know? You haven't really spoken with the tribe that being claimed to be the evil. So these conversations I'm excited to have or be part of. I want to ask Rhoda, like, what we're trying to do here really is to bring healing to our community, right? To bring about reconciliation. Can you tell us how storytelling can bring about this healing and reconciliation as somebody who is an expert in storytelling and, our very founder of the U Turn?
Thank you, Alakir, for that question. And to be honest, there's no better healing tool than just sitting and having conversation. Dialogue is the first step toward, healing. Talking, like sitting under the tree with our grandparents, now with ourselves on online, virtually sitting together and just having this conversation. Without conversation, there can be no trust. And without trust, there can be no lasting unity and peace. So really having this dialogue series is the first step toward, having this space to share, to share our heritage, right? Thing that we are proud of from our bringing. This social media or platform that we currently have, they promote divisive, language, divisive conversation, but the youth and the purpose of the youth and Alaran Society coming together with this project is to dilute that negativity, right? And create spaces where thoughtful people can actually come and talk about things that bring us together. We're not silencing those that are propagating their negative ideas. We're not saying stop, but the more like positive conversation come, the more we actually expose young people, as Isaac said, to diverse stories, right? We will coexist with this tension. Like there's a good and bad in everything. In every family, in every community, in every society, there's good and bad. And the more we keep quiet, the more we let the loud bad, take over. So this why I'm hopeful that this storytelling, this dialogue will bring healing is because if we continue doing this and we inspire others to create more platform to have this conversation, we create opportunity for us to heal, right? For young people to be exposed to different perspective of our communities, our history, of our the future we envision together. So that is what I'm hoping. So I'm really hoping that the folks that are listening here to expect diverse voices across our communities, different cultural insights, and even different cultural words. Like I want to know in Kakwa, how do you say peace in Kakwa? I don't know. And I'm South Sudanese and I don't even know peace in Kakwa language. So conversation like this will expose me to different opportunities to learn from my own cultural heritage, to learn from my colleague, and to envision the future we want, the youth that we want for our community, both in diaspora and back home. So that's why I'm exciting, and that's why I say healing start with one voice, and it become a collective voice over time. So it's really a long-term healing, but we are here to starting it, and we're starting it now.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Akwal, and thank you, Isaac. Like we've really set the stage, and I'm sure folks know what to expect now in the next coming months and what we're gonna be talking about. At this moment, if you do have the last few words you want to say in the normal U-turn conversation, we'll say, "What is your U-turn message?" Right? But for now, if there's anything you would like to add to this conversation, Isaac, you go first, and then Rhoda will go and we'll close the conversation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah. No, I think in general, social media it's a bit of a blessing, but it's a curse at the same time, because I think it's usually the negative voices kind of they are louder than the positive voices. So what I wanted us to do, we wanted to foster a conversation that's positive, and I agree with Okwal, because I don't want to I don't want to paint anyone with a terrible brush, but sometimes social media has a way of nurturing people that have obnoxious behaviors, and so it affects people more because as humans we're very sensitive to negative emotions. So I want us to share conversations that are going to help us develop, rather than focusing on a lot of negative energy that's going to just push us away from one another. And as social beings, it's hard for us to work in isolation. So uh, if I could reach you, I would encourage you to join us, no matter where you are. And we spoke about, like, so the 64 in one, to have at least by the end of this series, have a conversation with at least 64 people from different tribes of South Sudan. For us, it's not an easy task, because it's gonna be difficult to get the different people. So I'm encouraging anyone out there, if you feel like you have a unique voice, we don't bite. We are not going to say this person is different. We don't like them. Just please reach out to us, and we would receive you with open arm, and we will have the diverse and the interesting conversation that we would want to have. So please reach out to us. And if you have a certain information, or if you have an interest for history and anthropology regarding the different element of your culture, please also bring that information with you, and allude us to it as well, because we, as part of our series, we will also want to chelate the rich cultures of South Sudan. So one day we may have a sort of a product that outline how unique we are, and we will be able to see everything in one place, rather than seeking different people to give their interpretation. So that's what I would say, and I do look forward to having the conversation next time. Thank you.
So
Thank you,
my
Isaac.
U-turn message,
Yeah.
Lucky, I know you are waiting. My U-turn message is just simple. We have seen how beautiful our, cultural shows are across across back home and in diaspora. People launching uniforms. So we have a way to express our cultures, physically and outwardly. But how I see this, it will be a launching of our cultural ideas, our cultural histories through dialogue, through storytelling. So I'm seeing beautiful, show of cultural diversity, of cultural ideas, and I'm very much looking forward. And at the center of it is women. So you, I want this bridge dialogue to be really, inclusive. And I'm asking women of South Sudan, friends of South Sudan, as Isaac mentioned, who are women, to really be part of this conversation. So my U-turn message is: if you are watching and you know someone who will relate or align with this vision that we are putting out here and want to be part of the conversation, please nominate those women. Please name them. Let us know who these women are, and we'll bring them to this platform to have this conversation. We want the bridge to be inclusive of both men and women of South Sudan. And the output that Isaac alluded will be a big cultural show of ideas with women wearing their, beautiful, colorful histories in that conversation, in that dialogue, in that book, whatever that will look like. So really excited, Alakir, and I would say my U-turn message is for women to be part of this conversation, and also men.
Thank you very much. I'm also excited. If you're watching, please do share. Please do mention someone you would want to see on this conversation. We'll also be able to post a link to nominate someone for this conversation. And just to emphasize that call to action, please do show up. Nominate yourself. I know cultural, we're not the type of people to beat our chest and say, "Oh, I am this and this." You're taken as arrogant. But in this day and age, you have to be able to put yourself out there and trust that you have the expertise and the knowledge that we need for the Bridge Dialogue series. So thank you so much, Isaac, for this wonderful idea. Can't wait to see it grow and see where it goes. And Rhoda, for your continued leadership at the U Turn and the stories you're going to support with the Bridge Dialogue series. All right, thank you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next Saturday with different conversation about the U-turn. Have a good one.
It will be in July,
Yeah,
third week.
yeah. The first episode is in July.
Yeah.
On a Saturday. Regular U-turn show comes back next week with Don Malik. So stay tuned.
I got you.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.
As we come to the end of this conversation, I just want to take a moment to remind you that the growth doesn't happen without taking a new direction. So if there is a message that has given you some clarity, some courage, or even a little bit of push towards the positive direction, I want you to take that with you, sit with it, go offline with it, and encourage you to continue to invest in your personal growth and say thank you for taking the time to be here for yourself and for the community, for the growth of the community. The U-Turn is not just a show. It's a community where real talk, real growth, and real U-Turn happens. So until next time, stay empowered, stay intentional, and never be afraid to make a U-Turn. Thanks. Bye.